All right, hello Math 10. I am here today with your lesson on relations. So to begin, we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the foundations that we need to know before we can actually jump into relations, and that is the coordinate plane. Okay, so a coordinate plane is a plane divided into 4 regions, and it is one of the ways that we can use graphing. Now, the one that we use, this coordinate plane, is also known as the Cartesian plane. Okay, this is something that was discovered by a philosopher named Rene Descartes. It's actually kind of interesting how he discovered it, as he was bedridden and was looking at the ceiling and seeing a fly moving around on his ceiling, and he kind of came up with this method for translating algebra into graphing or into something that is geometric, right? So anyways, so coordinate plane is divided into 4 regions used for graphing, and each of these regions is called a quadrant. Okay, so each region is called a quadrant. The very first region is going to be the top right one, and then we're going to go counterclockwise. So region 2 is here, region 3 is here, and region 4 is here. And we use Roman numerals to denote these. We don't just use numbers because we're using normal numbers elsewhere, possibly, so we don't want to get things mixed up. So on top of our quadrants, we also have our x-axis and our y-axis. Okay, and so our y-axis is the horizontal, the x-axis is the vertical, and right in the middle, right here, we have something called the origin. That is just our starting spot, okay? So let's look at next something called an ordered pair. And an ordered pair is a point x, y on a graph so that we can plot them or we can interpret where they're supposed to be, right? So if we look here, I've got, for example, right here, we'll say that this one is A, and this one is B, and this one is C. So if we have a look at A, and we want to read where it is on the graph, again, we start at the origin. The origin's coordinates are 0, 0. Okay, we start there. And then we're going to, if we are on the x-axis, we are going in the positive direction this way, and the negative direction this way. And if we're looking at the y-axis, positive is up and negative is down. So let's have a look here. X always goes first, then y. So we would go 1, 2, 3 backwards. So that is -3. And then we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4. So point A is got an ordered pair of -3, 4. It is also in which quadrant? 2. So whenever x is negative and y is positive, you're going to be in quadrant 2. All right, so if we have a look at B, again, we're going to look here. B is 1, 2 spots over on the right, so that's +2. And then it's 1, 2, 3 spots down, that's -3. And again, whenever x is positive and y is negative, we're going to be in quadrant 4. Now finally, I've got this one here, C. This one is on the y-axis. So because it's on the y-axis, it is actually, I'm going to write right here, the x value is going to be 0, and then we just count it's up 2 spots. So it's at 0, 2. And if it asks us, oh, which quadrant is this in, we would just say it's on the y-axis. Okay, so there's 3 more examples on the notes there that you can just try right now. Make sure that you have a good grasp on that. So when we're looking at our graphs, right, there's 2 types of graphs. The first one is called discrete. The second one is called continuous. I always have a hard time spelling continuous. That might be wrong. Make sure you spell it right. Anyways, discrete is when you have a graph that is composed of distinct points. Okay, so this would be a discrete graph here. See, I've got 3 points. You can see them clearly. They're not touching, nothing, right? That is discrete. Continuous is when you have a graph that has connected lines. So if I was to say do something like this, then I have a continuous graph. Depending on the information that you're given and depending on what you're comparing, that will determine whether or not you have a discrete or a continuous. In some cases, a discrete is going to be more accurate, and in some cases, continuous is going to be more accurate. It just depends on the situation. Okay, so now let's have a quick look at relations.